Crossroads have long been recognized as powerful energy portals where different spiritual planes intersect. In many ancient traditions, these junctions were considered sacred meeting points between the physical and spiritual realms. However, this very power makes them problematic locations for ash scattering. When cremated remains are dispersed at crossroads, the soul may become trapped in a state of perpetual confusion. The diverging energetic pathways create a spiritual labyrinth that can prevent the soul from finding its true path forward. Instead of continuing its journey of ascension, the consciousness becomes caught in cyclical patterns, unable to determine which direction leads to peace and evolution. As Cayce noted in his readings about the afterlife, the soul requires clear vibrational alignment to progress through the various planes of existence. Crossroads, with their competing directional energies, disrupt this natural alignment and can leave the soul in a state of disorientation for extended periods. The spiritual laws governing energy movement become particularly relevant in these locations. Just as physical matter follows certain laws of physics, the soul's journey follows specific spiritual principles. When these principles are violated through improper ash placement, the consequences can be profound and long-lasting. The energy at crossroads constantly shifts and changes as it accommodates the intersection of multiple paths. This instability creates an environment where the soul cannot anchor itself properly to begin its transformation. Instead, it may repeatedly attempt to follow different energetic pathways, only to be pulled back to the central point of confusion. Similarly problematic are cemeteries that don't belong to your family lineage. When ashes are scattered in graves or burial grounds where you have no ancestral connection, unwanted spiritual entanglements can form. These connections aren't based on love or karmic resolution, but rather on proximity and energetic interference. The soul may become confused about its own identity and lineage, forming attachments to unfamiliar spiritual entities. These connections can create karmic complications that weren't present before, adding unnecessary challenges to the soul's journey. Every cemetery has its own collective energy field formed by those interred there, and introducing foreign remains disrupts this established harmonic field. In many spiritual traditions, family burial grounds are considered sacred precisely because they maintain the energetic continuity of ancestral lines. Breaking this continuity by introducing unrelated remains can cause spiritual discord, not only for the newly departed soul, but for those already at rest in that location. The third problematic location is perhaps the most common: keeping ashes permanently inside the home. While this practice stems from love and attachment, it often serves the emotional needs of the living rather than the spiritual needs of the departed. When remains are kept in the home environment, the soul may feel obligated to remain present, sensing the emotional attachment of loved ones. This creates a form of energetic tethering that prevents the natural transition process. The vibrations of daily life, conversations, emotions, and activities create a constant pull that can make it difficult for the soul to fully detach from its former existence. The grieving process becomes prolonged for both the living and the departed when this physical connection is maintained. Instead of gradually releasing attachments and moving forward, both parties remain fixed in a state of suspended transition. The home environment, with its familiar energies, can become a comfortable but limiting space for the soul, preventing it from experiencing the expansive realms beyond physical existence. Places where significant tragedies have occurred carry profound energetic imprints that persist long after the physical events have ended. Battlefields, disaster sites, and locations of mass suffering become repositories of collective pain, fear, and unresolved trauma. These energetic residues create what spiritual teachers have described as emotional atmospheres that can influence and entrap souls who encounter them. When cremated remains are scattered in these locations, the departing soul becomes immersed in this pre-existing field of distress. Rather than finding peace and clarity for its onward journey, the soul may absorb or become entangled with these traumatic vibrations. The process is similar to how a clean sponge absorbs the properties of whatever liquid it encounters. In this case, the soul absorbs the dense, troubled energies of the location. This absorption creates unnecessary spiritual burdens that the soul must then process and overcome. The natural transition, which should be characterized by increasing lightness and expansion, becomes weighed down by collective grief and trauma that doesn't belong to the individual's personal journey. The soul may find itself processing emotions and experiences that were never part of its life path, creating confusion and delay in its spiritual evolution. Many fields of battle, in particular, contain clusters of souls who remain partially earthbound due to the sudden and violent nature of their transition. Introducing new remains to these locations can create unhealthy spiritual associations and dependencies, where the newly departed soul becomes linked with these unresolved collective energies. Similarly problematic are polluted rivers, lakes, and oceans. Water has long been recognized across spiritual traditions as a powerful conductor of energy and a symbol of purification, transformation, and rebirth. In its natural, pure state, water assists in spiritual transitions by helping to dissolve earthly attachments and facilitate movement between dimensions. However, when water bodies are contaminated with physical pollutants, their spiritual properties become similarly corrupted. The natural elemental intelligence of water becomes distorted, and its ability to assist in purification and transition is compromised. When ashes are scattered in polluted waters, the soul encounters this corrupted elemental energy at a crucial moment in its journey. The elemental beings and nature spirits associated with water bodies also withdraw from heavily polluted areas, removing their beneficial guidance and support that would normally assist a transitioning soul. Instead of experiencing the intended purification and release, the soul may become entangled with the discord and disharmony present in the polluted environment. The vibrational frequency of pollution, representing humanity's disregard for natural balance, creates a discordant pattern that can interfere with the soul's natural harmonic progression. The soul may absorb these imbalanced energies, requiring additional effort to purify itself before continuing its journey. This disruption to the natural purification process can significantly delay spiritual advancement. Equally troubling locations for ash scattering are venues associated with vice, excess, and spiritual dispersion. Nightclubs, casinos, and places dedicated to indulgence often maintain atmospheres of escapism, momentary pleasure, and energetic scattering rather than spiritual consolidation and growth. These environments are characterized by rapidly fluctuating emotional states, desire-based attachments, and often unhealthy energetic exchanges between individuals. The collective field created in these spaces tends to operate at lower vibrational frequencies associated with base desires and temporary gratification rather than spiritual elevation. When ashes are placed in such environments, the departing soul encounters these lower vibrational patterns at a time when it should be naturally elevating toward higher frequencies. The soul may become entrapped in these denser energetic patterns, experiencing difficulty in transcending the material plane's more challenging aspects. In many spiritual traditions, the period immediately following physical death is considered crucial for establishing the soul's trajectory. The energetic environment where the remains are placed creates a kind of launching pad or initial condition that influences this trajectory. Places of vice create launching conditions that pull downward rather than lift upward. Furthermore, these locations often contain numerous earthbound spirits and entities attracted to the emotional and energetic excesses present there. These spirits, themselves caught in patterns of attachment and unfulfillment, may interact with and influence the newly transitioning soul, creating unhealthy spiritual associations. The constant stimulation and energetic chaos present in these environments make it difficult for the soul to find the stillness and clarity needed for proper transition. Instead of the peaceful integration of life experiences that facilitates growth, the soul may become caught in patterns mirroring the disjointed, pleasure-seeking behaviors common to these venues. The final category of problematic locations for ash scattering, abandoned temples, churches, and sacred sites, may seem counterintuitive at first glance. These places were once dedicated to spiritual connection and elevation, so they might appear ideal for facilitating a soul's transition. However, the spiritual reality is considerably more complex. When a sacred space is abandoned, its energetic nature undergoes a significant transformation. The regular practices of prayer, meditation, and ritual that once maintained these sites as vibrant spiritual portals gradually dissipate. What remains is often a spiritual vacuum, a space that retains echoes of its former sacred purpose, but lacks the active energy maintenance required for it to function as intended. These abandoned sacred sites become what could be described as spiritual neutral zones, places neither fully connected to higher realms nor entirely of the material world. The energetic architecture remains partially intact, but without the consistent focus of devotional practice, these structures become energetically unstable and unpredictable. For a transitioning soul, this instability creates particular challenges. Rather than finding clear pathways to higher dimensions, the soul encounters fragmented energetic patterns and disconnected spiritual currents. The symbolic equivalence would be attempting to use a partially dismantled bridge to cross a river. The structure suggests passage, but cannot reliably support the journey. Many abandoned sacred sites also attract various forms of spiritual entities drawn to the residual energy. Not all of these entities have beneficial intentions, and some may actively interfere with a soul's natural transition process. Without the protective energetic boundaries maintained by active spiritual practice, these sites can become gathering places for discordant spiritual forces. The soul, vulnerable during its transition phase, may become subject to influences that delay or divert its natural progression. Instead of finding the protection and elevation that active sacred sites provide, it encounters a spiritual landscape marked by uncertainty and competing influences. Additionally, many abandoned sacred places carry the energetic imprint of their decline, the grief of final ceremonies, the sadness of worshippers forced to leave, or the trauma of desecration. These emotional residues become part of the site's energetic signature and can affect any soul connected to that location through its remains. Having explored these 7 problematic locations, it becomes clear that the act of ash scattering is not merely a physical ritual, but a profound spiritual decision with far-reaching consequences for the soul's journey. The choice of location creates vibrational conditions that either support or hinder the natural transition process. But what alternatives exist for those seeking to honor their loved ones' remains in spiritually beneficial ways? The spiritual laws that caution against certain locations also provide guidance toward more supportive options. Natural, unpolluted elements offer some of the most beneficial environments for ash scattering. Clean flowing water, particularly at river sources or where rivers meet the sea, symbolizes the soul's journey from individual consciousness toward universal connection. These transition points in nature mirror the soul's own transitional state and can facilitate smooth passage. Similarly, mountaintops and elevated natural settings provide energetic conditions that support ascension. The reduced atmospheric pressure and proximity to the sky create a natural upward pull that aligns with the soul's journey toward higher planes of existence. Many spiritual traditions have recognized mountains as natural temples that bridge earthly and celestial realms. Gardens and forests with thriving ecosystems offer another beneficial option. These places of natural harmony and regeneration support the cyclical nature of existence. The soul, witnessing the continuous renewal of life, is reminded of its own eternal nature beyond physical form. The balanced energies of healthy natural environments create stable conditions for transition without the chaotic or stagnant elements found in problematic locations. For those drawn to more formal sacred spaces, active rather than abandoned spiritual centers maintained through regular devotional practices provide supportive environments. The consistent spiritual focus in these locations creates clear energetic pathways that the soul can follow. Many traditions offer specific ceremonies for the departed that help establish these beneficial connections. Family land with positive associations and history provides another meaningful option. Places where the departed experience joy, connection, and purpose during life often maintain a natural energetic affinity with their soul. This pre-existing harmony can facilitate a smooth transition as the soul recognizes and responds to the familiar beneficial vibrations. The ocean, particularly in areas far from pollution and human disruption, offers yet another powerful option. The vast rhythmic nature of the sea reflects the infinite and cyclical aspects of consciousness. Many spiritual traditions view large bodies of water as thresholds between worlds, making them naturally suited for transitional rituals when approached with reverence and understanding. What these beneficial locations share is their alignment with universal principles of harmony, elevation, and natural transition. They create conditions where the soul can easily release earthly attachments without becoming entangled in problematic energies. As Cayce suggested in his extensive readings on the afterlife, the period immediately following physical transition is crucial for establishing the soul's trajectory. The attention and intention brought to end-of-life rituals, including the disposition of remains, can significantly influence this important phase of spiritual development. When considering final arrangements, the focus should extend beyond cultural conventions or personal preferences to include awareness of these spiritual principles. The highest act of love for the departing soul is to create conditions that support its freedom and evolution, rather than inadvertently creating attachments or obstacles through our choices. The wisdom of spiritual traditions offers us guidance not to control or constrain the soul's journey, but to honor its natural progression toward greater awareness and connection. By understanding these spiritual laws governing transition, we can make choices that truly serve the highest good of those we love, supporting their continued evolution beyond physical form. If these insights about honoring the soul's journey have resonated with you, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel for more spiritual wisdom that goes beyond conventional understanding. Your subscription supports the sharing of this ancient knowledge in our modern world. Leave a comment below sharing your own experiences or questions about spiritual transitions. Your perspective may help others on their path. Remember, conscious choices create conscious transitions. Join our spiritual community today and help spread these timeless teachings to those who need them most.